So I listened to the press conference Governor Kim Reynolds was on that she had this morning with state law enforcement officials. And I found it extremely hypocritical. Here she was trying to portray herself as a humanitarian, as somehow uh, saving or helping the people who are fleeing from south of the border due to violence in the countries they came from. Uh, she mentioned in her troopers who did the report, noted that they spent time with 800 people, 800 migrants, and that they had seen the awful conditions that they were in, and that the overwhelming majority of them were good people who had dealt with violence. And anyhow, she counted. She and the law enforcement people had noted who they helped, how they provided diapers, how they had migrants in the car with them for air conditioning, how they did these small things. And then she flipped the switch and talked about people crossing the border, drug dealers, human traffickers, convicts, the need to secure the border. I found that confusing on how she could talk about the need for a humanitarian effort on one end, then say we're just going to shut them out and we're not going to let them in. How she could say all those things and her fellow officials could say that, they stated that she could not afford to help 300 children who had come across the border. And she's sending down much needed resources to the border in a state with 30 million people. And here we're in a state with 3 million people. Who has the most resources to deal with this? Now, of course, the federal government is doing the work, the heavy lifting down there. And she, along with other governors from small population states who have kind of hateful views, were the ones who were sending law enforcement officials down there. So it was hypocritical. It was not the type of thing that you would expect from a governor from our state who would be following in the footsteps of Governor Ray, who showed compassion to refugees. It was political pandering. We're going to continue to speak out. Yes, there is a big problem at the border. We need to do our part. There's over 200 million people who move across the globe in need of refuge. Here we're talking about tens of thousands, but this is not unusual. This is not a world's record. We dealt with this in 2014 during the Obama administration. We can be doing the same thing now. And of course, there's things that we need to do in those countries too, to make them livable again, but to bring up human trafficking too in that press conference on how people were coming across, and some of which were human traffickers, but yet knowing that if they shut down the border, that these refugees would be held hostage by those human traffickers. But I think when the truth gets out, Iowans need to really look at this, and they need to really, demand justice from their elected officials. And for those who did not speak up today, elected officials on both the Democrat and Republican side, shame on them. I mean, this is just really clear that we need to do more, and we should not be having this dog and pony show, and we shouldn't have this crying wolf. It makes no sense. People need to contact their state legislators in the governor's office to say that this is not right to be talking about humanitarian efforts and then to shut down the border and not allow these people to come over. We have the best opportunities here to take care of this issue. This is not new. This is part of our history in Iowa, and we need to be doing our part. And clearly, with the governor saying 2 months ago, nothing could be done, and then spending all these resources to do exactly the opposite, proves that we can do more, and we need to. We need to allow these refugees to come in. We need to provide them with some form of temporary legal status in the short term so that they are not held hostage, so they can seek treatment, a refuge. There's family members here that can take care of refugees. And if they have legal status, there will be no human traffickers going after them because they'll be able to seek safety from law enforcement officials. So again, we need to know the facts. We need to get the facts out there. And I hope that people reach out to their elected officials and speak up.
Excellent. Excellent.